it is me, it is I, Small Town Didi, you're a Heidi on this very internet, and I am back. We're back, you guys. I was having nuts. Am I late? Yes, I am. Is this fast becoming just a Real Housewives channel? Yes. Is it intentional? No. Is it going to continue this way? No. I will cover hot topics and things like that when things jump out to me. Some things are just not worth talking about. I'm sorry. But today, we're back up on here, wherever, on the internet to talk about the Real Housewives of Durban, episode 5. Yes, I'm late, but let's go. Opening scene, Jojo and Maria. Cute little scene. This whole episode in bits felt like a filler. Nothing really happened for me. Maria goes over to see Jojo by Jojo's. They drive around. Her little golf cart is so cute. The detail on it is so cute. Jojo's. You guys not actually took to Jojo her first season, which was last season. This is only her second season. We're in season 3 of this particular franchise. I took to her. So I'm not like thrilled at how she's like fast becoming not my faves, you know? But cute things, nothing really happening, just skinny legends doing skinny legend shit, driving around in the estate. Literally nothing to really talk about here. They talked some plastic surgery stuff, but that was it. And then we see Mbali. We don't get to, Mbali's not getting a lot of camera time. But when she does, she makes the most of it, especially when it's her one-on-ones or just like a trio. I've said in other reviews, she falls away in large group settings, but I think it's because she's I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. She's precise with her words. She's a straight shooter without having to be rude, and I guess when she's in a large group setting and she doesn't feel a need to like inject herself and like disrupt conversation for the sake of like being or getting camera time, she falls away. But she did well in this scene. She meets up with Sane. For a while I was confused. Sane wears really heavy makeup. Like, makeup is like fashion, right? We do that. And when they shot this maybe a year ago or something like that. And that fresh face look has been in for maybe a couple of years now. She's still doing very harsh contours. And sometimes it feels like the makeup was still trying to set. Because that's the thing about makeup. It looks really good when you've had it on for a couple of hours and it's all dewy and your natural oils have blended in with the product and everything is working well together. I'm going to get to the point just now. Sane shows up. She has a cute little fro and she has a band on it. You know, us girls, I've got locks. So I had an afro at some point in my life. And because we're constantly having to manage if our hair looks professional enough or done enough, we get into this pattern of when you have your fro out, you can't just let your little hair breathe. You must put a band here so as to communicate that, look, I am trying. My hair is done. I know my little kinky kaffir hair needs to be like, you know, I need to do something to it. Constantly must manipulate that. But what that did is because her makeup, her contour was so harsh for me here, it felt like she was sitting in the makeup chair. Like her makeup was still being done and she was wearing a thing. That thing you guys wear to push down your lace front so that they don't move. The little band. It took a while for me to figure out, oh, they're out at a restaurant. That hairband is on purpose and it was throwing me off. Her whole look was throwing me off. Her contour is too harsh for the time that we're existing in. RuPaul, I love it. I don't know. But they're sitting at the restaurant Mbali and Mbali's really trying to let her know. She's like, to Mbali, Sane, what are you guys talking about? What are you guys saying about me? And Mbali's whole thing is, she doesn't want to get into the gossip of it all. She just wants to tell her that you are coming across this way. It's putting everybody off from trying to know you and you're not doing yourself any favors. Sane's strategy coming into the show, even if it wasn't a strategy and maybe she's going through a lot and when she feels like people are attacking her, she lashes out to throw them off of her as quickly as possible. So she does like very jarring things. If her strategy was to come onto the show and be the villain and think that you're going to secure your next contract by just being, getting a new season, by being the person that just starts shit and you're hostile, That strategy doesn't work if the ladies decide that they're icing you out, which is what's happening here. She's starting to realize, because she's like, oh, when last did you hear from these girls, blah, 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 blah. Ain't nobody inviting you to shit. Mbali was just at the racing thing that Annie put together. Nobody's inviting you. Like, all of that, I'm gonna be the cause of the drama, meaning I'm gonna have like longevity on the show. It's not working. The drama needs to be authentic. This is so fabricated. It's just you shooting at everybody and hoping something sticks. Then she cries and then I'm annoyed. Like, I really don't feel bad for her. I'm like, what in the fucking act? Mbali says to her, I feel like you. First of all, she ignores Mbali, right? She starts off by, because she doesn't want to hear what, like, the truth Mbali has to tell her about herself, that you seem like you're going through a lot and you are projecting and lashing out at people when people are trying to have a moment with you. Like, you escalate. Like, your reaction to whatever's been done to you is always so, like, disproportionate to what was done to you. It's always over the top. And so people don't want to be around you. They're not trying to deal with you. Then she says, oh, she might put a little something together for, ain't nobody coming to your shit, girl. Nobody's coming to that. I don't know what to tell you, but nobody's coming to that. As Mbali is trying to, like, appeal to her better nature, which doesn't exist. That's the other thing that you guys shouldn't do. Do not try to appeal to a person's better self or their consciousness that is somehow, like, because you feel like we are inherently good. Like, we are all inherently, we come from goodness and that's our core, and you just need to get, that's how you get played. That's how you fucking get paid. She doesn't have a good core. Hey, she doesn't exude it. The energy's not there. I'm a person who, like, I get teary-eyed very easily. I've said this before. I cry very easily. She did nothing to me. She cried. I was like, oh, what in the fucking act? Like, move. Next. Sleep. Goes to see her spiritual guide. And he's at his home, and she's trying to explain to him that I am facing the struggle. Her gift requires her to remain level-headed, to not trigger her spirit. Her spirit doesn't like conflict. And she's finding that when she's in spaces with Jojo and Nonko, she feels like they're constantly trying to push her boundaries and do things that, like, her gift would not appreciate, that don't go with what it is. And it's quite sad because Nonko, that's your friend. Like, you know where she is, her journey and everything she's going through. You have an understanding that you should probably avoid putting this person in these kinds of, like, situations. Yet you're there. Guys, this is the second person Nonko has brought on the show only to, like, do whatever it is that she did to them. But her spiritual guide, like, reminds her, you must stay grounded. Don't fight for the sake of it. Choose your battles. Everything is not worth a fight. I'm starting to actually realize that, this is work, right? Like, this is Slee, who's, like, fresh out of a divorce, so to speak, rebuilding her life and everything. This is a good paycheck, but Nonko is also her neighbor and her friend. This is not as simple as saying, or just walk away. So can you imagine that every time you show up for work, which is what showing up for a scene is, it's work, there's this animosity that you must deal with. Can you imagine going to work knowing, anticipating hostility, attacks, ambush little fucking tactics by two ditzy bitches, like, on top of all of that? Two people who can, like, barely form an argument to save their lives, but they are the loudest, they bark the most, I can imagine it's getting to her. And we look at it like, oh, it's television, it's entertainment. No, it's work. She's having to show up for work, and every time she shows up for work, she has some stupid shit thrown at her. Verbally, that is. Accusations. And a constant, like, it's not getting solved. Every time she shows up and these two women are in the picture, she knows she's going to be confronted with this nonsense. Like, I can't imagine. I'd go mad. I would go mad. So I understand why it's starting to get under her skin a little bit, right? But anyway, he reminds her to stay grounded and all of those nice things. Jojo got a lot of screen time in this episode for fucking what, I don't know. Next scene, we see Jojo and her husband. They have a beautiful home, and he's back home, and they are talking about Slee because Jojo does not have a storyline for the season. Slee is her storyline, so it's completely fucking ridiculous to me every time she's in her confessionals, rolling her eyes. I can't believe I'm being made to talk about sis. All you got going on, baby girl. That's it. That and how pretty you are. Oh, and those tattoos are fucking fire. That's it. That's all you got. That is it. Send C a fucking basket. Send it and thank her for a storyline for the season. Because if not for her, I don't know what the fuck you'd be talking about. I actually don't know. She sits down with her husband and they talk Slee because they have an obsession. She brings Slee up. Let me leave that man out of this. I don't think he has an obsession. I think he's busy working and she gets bored being at home and being kept and shopping. So she must stay in the mess and, you know, make sure shit is carrying on. And he's like, no, he maintains his stance, basically, that's what she said. Nonko heard her. I'm so confused about what Nonko heard because it sounds like for a brief moment Nonko wasn't even there and she came back and she like entered the conversation midway. But I don't even care. Oksalayo, Jojo's husband Calvin. I keep saying is it Calvin or Kevin, and I think it's Calvin. I'm gonna stick to Calvin. He says that this happened and Jojo, that's her man, right? She has to believe him. Not my fucking man. I don't need to believe him. That's my fucking story. Okay? Alright. Nonko's friend comes to see her. A guy. I can't remember if this is the same person she had as a life coach in the last season when she allegedly had a drinking problem. I can't remember for the life of me, or if that was the first season that the life coach came. But they sit down and he asks her what's been going on, and she explains that since we last spoke, I embarked on like a celibacy thing, which has come to an end rather abruptly because this person has entered into my life. Not really planned and stuff. So then he gets to asking questions about him. Skara, what's his name? She calls him by some initials. I don't know, do me. Like Skara, guys, if you've been here, you know I'll call her man that. Like, he looks like Scar from The Lion King to me. And that's no dig. Like, Scar's that dude. But anyway, they are talking and then, yo guys, I'm so confused about Nonko, me personally. Like, I wish her well, but I'm confused. She's another one that has like wounded bird energy. You either want to save her, but like, you said, or you just want to be like, you know what, like, let nature have at it. But she tells him that no, I'm seeing this guy, and then he's like, okay, is it serious? Have you guys labeled things yet? It's only been 2 months, guys. She's like, yes, it's official. I don't know. And then he says, you know, when you meet the right person, when your souls meet, there is no telling when. No, there is. There fucking is. It's this fucking dumb shit, these arguments you guys make of, oh, when you know, you know. It doesn't have to be whatever and whatever. Time is important. Time tells the real story. Time will reveal a person's character. All of this, you can meet a person in a week and no, you fucking can't. Okay? And those that say they have, the number is very small or they're liars. That's the other thing. You'll just be lying. Right? Because you don't want to walk it back. You don't want to be like, I was wrong. I don't know this person as well as that. Like, they're not the person I'd imagine that they are. The pride gets in the way and you can't admit that, so now you must see this shit through. Right? She says the official already, but then she goes into like a list of things like, yeah, except I still need my space, and like he really feels like he's like more traditional in that he feels like a woman's role is like subservient to a man, and I don't know if I can really, but you're official. These are like basic things that when you start dating a person, you figure out, okay, they're like this, this is their politic, they're a little bit homophobic, I can't fucking have that, like, they like this and they don't like that, maybe they're not religious, they want me to cook every meal, he's gonna expect me to, these are the things that you, before you decide, you're officially, because you don't even officially know this person. You don't. But anyway, that was the scene. Sarisha links up with Maria and they tried to form a friendship because Maria was feeling snubbed. We learn in the scene that Maria actually changed her name. Sarisha's like, no, I reached out to friends of mine who say they know you, but they know you by a different name. And then we learned that Maria changed her name when she married her husband because he is Greek and stuff, and Sarisha ever with the shade. In her confessional talking about, and here I am, and I've never had to change my name or my surname. That is a woman telling you that she's made. Like, regardless of whether or not like Viv is in the picture, she is a maid. She's a maid woman, and that's the thing. That's the thing about marriage that fucks with me. Like, beyond the contractual obligation that is marriage, the sacrifice of identity that women are expected to do is something I know that I personally can't do. And when I say that the construct of marriage is incompatible with how I want to live my life, I really just need you dumb bitches, the few dumb of you, right? The few of you who are like just not very bright, to apply yourself to what it is I'm saying. Like, it's not my fault that you're simple and you haven't spent enough time with this question and this construct, right? And what it really entails. I have been me my whole life, right? I come from this clan, this is my name, this is my praise, this is what I identify with, these are my ancestors, this is who I speak to, and I am not trying to strip all that shit from myself to adopt some stuff Jakabuskara. For fucking what? It's too much of a sacrifice only for men to turn around and not only feel like they're entitled to it. Like, of course you're gonna strip your identity and take on mine. Like, what makes their legacy any more worthwhile? Like, what makes a man's legacy any worth? Like, why can't I pass down why can't my kids have my last name? Why can't I name my kids a junior after fucking me? What just makes the man inherently more valuable? Patriarchy is you're fucked in the head. You cannot sell me on like giving up so much of my identity for a man. Such a fickle creature who may turn around 10 years from now and decide that I'm not what he wants and I'm stuck with this man's fucking surname. I'm having to like move mountains to change the paperwork. People in the streets are calling me Mama Age. Do I fucking look like Mama Age? Like, the fuck? Jeez. I don't know why y'all do it, but okay, to each his own. Y'all get so excited. Oh my god, I don't know if y'all don't like where you come from. Like, that's the other thing that I'm like, do you just not like where you come from? Like, because I like where I come from. Like, I love my name. I really, really love my name. I do. If I could, I'd actually double barrel and use both my parents' surnames because I am so much of both of them. I was raised by my mom's side for like a huge chunk of like my early life, and then my parents took us to come and live, or me in particular. My siblings were already with them. So I don't want to sacrifice any part of my identity for a nyeka. Oh, please. Get the fuck out of my face. We see Annie. Annie's another one whose husband is a bit more present on the show this season. We're getting a lot of camera time. It's nice, and they're having a home date. She looks cute, little chats, nothing really crazy happening. Like I said, this was a filler episode, guys. Sarisha again meets up with Slee and Maria, and they want to just talk about the dynamic that's seeming to be festering in the group, and all the things that are unfolding between her, Jojo, and Nonko. And Maria's very close with Jojo, obviously, and Maria's just there to, she's a good friend for this, right? She holds her friend down. She's trying to, you know, push her friend's point of view. Like, I feel like, because Slee says to her, they meet up at the spot, everybody's looking pretty. One thing about Maria, you'll never catch her in no fucking flats. I've seen her in sneakers once, and that's when she went to that ice skating ring with her son. You never catch her in that shit. My girl will be in a stiletto. Okay? Your boob is almost popping out of your thing that you're wearing in your confessional, but I love you, girl. Hey, girl, hey. Okay, so they meet up, and Slee then says to Maria, because you're so close to Jojo, how have you experienced her as a friend? Like, what's that relationship like with Jojo? And then Maria's like, no, like, once she loves you, she really loves hard and stuff, and she puts forward all her best attributes, which is what a good friend is supposed to do, which is what Nonko should have done when she was introducing Slee to Sarisha and Jojo, instead of that fucking stunt that she pulled talking about, oh, she doesn't really like you. Based off what? Based off what you fucking said to her about Jojo, because she doesn't know Jojo. Right, at the time she didn't. But anyway, and Slee says, you know what, I am going to express, in her confessionals, she says, I'm going to express my concerns to Maria regarding Jojo because I wanted to take them back because they're friends. Because maybe she'll hear them a lot better coming from somebody who's a friend, right? They talk about that dynamic, and then Maria says, do we want to link up with Jojo to just see what we can do to like hash this thing out? And thing is like, because Slee tells them that I had a meetup with Nonko and Jojo, and I told them both that, you know what, y'all aren't interested in really building a friendship with me, like respectively, like the both of you aren't interested in building a friendship with me, and so I'm done, right? Nonko, you and I were friends, but that's done. Jojo, you and I could have been friends, but like you clearly aren't interested in building anything healthy here, so that's that with that, right? So that's what happens, and they decide that they're gonna have a meeting with Jojo, Maria, and Sarisha. And then we see Jojo. Like I said, she got a lot of screen time. And he goes over to Jojo's, and then she shows her like all the construction that's happening around her property and stuff. They having quite a huge expansion in the millions. SARS better not fucking hear this, okay? They will come after you for your shit and nobody fucking else. Okay, Jojo, make sure those, well, Calvin, we fucking know you're just busy like stirring the pot. You don't know what's going on with these monies, except how to spend them, as you should. Hey, go ahead. But come on, what's her name? Annie goes over to Jojo's, and they're having a little like a girls' day in, if you like, a jacuzzi kind of moment. I don't like that she didn't tell one thing about the Real Housewives of Durban's production. They're about to let you know what the girls pulled up in. Without a doubt, you are going to see the girls fit, right? The wheels they rolled up in, the wheels on the shoes. How do I know what Maria has on her shoes? You will always know. It's so old school Real Housewives. Less the price tags, right? When you think Real Housewives of Beverly Hills still has that, right? You will see the stuff we want to see because we want to escape and live through these kept women. But you know, some of them struggling. So I see why it doesn't work for each franchise, but it's nice. It's nice to see the girls roll up in their nice whips and their nice like shoes, and they fits and shit. Like it's really, really nice. They used to have this cash thing. They still have it on Beverly Hills. Like if they go shopping, you hear like that cash register kind of sound, and you see how much they spent on an item. I understand you might not want to do that, like, you know, in a country with like crime like ours. You don't want to make yourself a target like that, but simply just being on that show and showing up in those cars already somewhat makes you a target, I'd argue. But anyway, I love how they shoot the scenes and stuff. We see Annie pull up in her pink car, and she looks, was it a BMW? Yes. Anyway, I don't like that Jojo didn't tell the ladies that I want to link y'all up. I'm friends with both of you. I enjoy both of you. I get that y'all don't really see it for each other like that, but it would be nice to hang with the both of you. Maybe you two can see in each other what I see in you guys, right? But she didn't. It went very ambush style, but Annie just let it go, and, you know, they decided to have a good time. Nonko also pulls up in something cute and blue and very sports car-y. Don't know what, like, the make or what, like, I don't know what it is, but it looks cute. I didn't know, I don't know if that's what she was driving before, and then Scatter got her that other car that we never see, or if this is also something new or something that Scatter, like, also lent her. I don't know, because, you know, she's a kept girl now by the Lion himself. They're chilling in the jacuzzi. There's eating going on here. I love that. I always love to see when the wives do real life shit. Like, they're eating, they're drinking bubbles. I find it strange, very strange, that just last season everybody was on Nonko about her drinking, how erratic she gets when she drinks and how sloppy she is and stuff. But here we have Bestie, Jojo, they drove there, by the way, topping up a girl's glass with bubbles on bubbles on bubbles. Girl, I was like, is she no longer a drunk, allegedly, like you all were trying to make her out to be last season? I don't know what's going on, Yella. But then the pool, and then they get to talking about Slee. Jojo and Nonko say, yeah, we call her Balenciaga rat. Like, that's not even landing, guys. It's It's not landing. It's again with the fetch, trying to make fetch happen. The constant, I call him rough diamond. Okay, girl. Also not landing. And then they say she's an ass kisser, which I am very confused about. I mean, fine, didn't crash. You guys know that, like, I'm obviously like feeling Slee, but like, Slee has never even extended an invitation to Sarisha for anything. Oh, just last week to the shop where she does. But a lot of the interactions they've had have been by Sarisha's initiative. So how is she sucking up when she's... I don't see it. So these are like grown women who have good communication skills, who met and liked each other because they are grown and act grown, and you guys see that as sucking up. Do you know what's sucking up? When your friend is moving too fast with a man who's been to jail and you just act like there's nothing wrong with what's happening, and you just top up her glass with champagne and act like, I'm just so happy for you. And you don't say, friend, but like, I question how fast you're moving, Jojo. That's what's fucking strange. Anyway, they say what they... And then they also tell Annie that, yeah, I don't like how she talks to me around my children and stuff. I need to get to the bottom of this. I need, as episodes go on, for us to understand what happened. Because it sounds like she was probably saying something to her kid that was making her kid feel away, and because she's a fucking child herself, Nonko, right? And so Slee stepped in and said, oh, don't mind your mom. She didn't mean... That's what I'm hearing. If you were hurting a child's feelings and there was another grown-up in the room trying to like reaffirm your child where you weren't, you're the bad parent. I don't know if people understand that you being the parent doesn't automatically make you right. If you do something to your kid in front of another adult and it's wrong, you don't just get to be right because you birthed this person. If you're moving mad around your children and somebody's calling you out for it, shit. Sorry. Another thing that was interesting is that, like, another grown woman is Annie, who said in a confessional that she doesn't feel like her and Nonko have a problem. They just aren't friends, right? They're not gelling, they're not meeting, but they don't have conflict. They just, their spirits don't meet. They don't meet, and that's it. And that's cool. That's fine. That this is what a real circle looks like, right? People aren't always going to get along. That's really what happened in that scene. Sarisha hosts Maria. Maria shows up again. You gotta see how the ladies rolled up. You gotta see what they got on their feet. Standard. Roll up. Jojo rolls up. And literally when I see all three of them, I'm like, guys, skinny legends unite, right? I have a video on this channel where I talk about I'm not diagnosed, what I would consider disordered eating, and just like my relationship around food. And as a result, I'm hyper aware of things that if you don't have a similar struggle on either side of the spectrum, right? Either you're like really underweight and you struggle with whatever like ED on that scale, or you're on my side where you've been like fat your whole life and you are struggling with whatever it is. You tend to be hyper aware of things that normal people do not recognize. I recognize that people weren't eating in the scene, that there was food on the table, but the skinny legends who like being skinny, it's a culture in certain spaces, right? Annie talks about how skinny she is in the first scene with Maria. Oh, but the doctor said there's no more fat to suck out, and all my friends are skinny, and everybody is so skinny. And we love this thing talking about how, oh, they're just naturally that way. People work at being skinny, and some people, yes, are that way, but you get to an age in life where your metabolism slows down and you pick up a little bit of weight unless you're working hard not to. And I'm not saying that's what's going on here. I'm saying literally this has nothing to do with these ladies. It has everything to do with the fact that I'm so hyper aware of, because I body check even when I'm talking. I will look at the monitor and I will... Body checking is when you like... If you see the girls with the EDs on the lower side of the spectrum, the anorexia and things like that, they like to just do things like that, so they're trying to feel how small their breasts are. I'm so sorry if this is triggering for anybody, really I am. And because you want you want to be able to do that, and it's even nicer if you do it and there's a little bit of space left, because then you really are skinny. So because that's how I'm programmed, I body check and I check what's going on. I kept looking at them not eat the food, and not that I'm like I would eat that food, but I'm like, that's interesting. Annie was eating. Annie, who's on the thicker side, Annie was eating at Jojo's house. I don't remember seeing Jojo chew. I mean, granted, we only get to see a little bit of like hours of footage, but like my brain can't help but notice these kinds of things, and that's a me thing. It's a really a me thing, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. They talk about it, and then so Jojo arrives. And Jojo sits down and they're chatting about, so Maria starts to tell her that I feel like Nonko's influencing you in terms of how you feel about Slee and stuff. And she's like, I feel like you guys want to turn me against my friend. She's also being a good friend to Nonko in this instance, and I suppose good for them. It's in the scene that Maria learns that the introduction was, oh, she doesn't like you. I feel like that really puts things, because in the confessionals, then she says, you know what, I'm inclined to not believe Slee, because what in the hell kind of introduction is that? And that is something Jojo left out when she tells me the story of how things unfolded where we end up here. She conveniently left out the part where the introduction was, oh, hi Slee, this is Jojo. Jojo, Slee doesn't like you. What in the hell, right? And then Jojo's not coming around, right? She's like, standing her ground, and that's her friend, and Slee is changing her story too many times, and Slee just needs to apologize. I don't know for what. And Barkaman, Sarisha says, you know what? I feel like she's in love. We don't know anything about her love life. I feel like that woman is way too in love for her to be moving mad the way you're saying that she is. That just does not seem like her character. Jojo's not budging. Like, it's interesting that the Sarisha is the one sticking up for Slee, but according to Jojo and Nonko, Slee's kissing ass. This woman just met this girl and already feels like I want to stick up for this girl, but the other girl is the one kissing ass. And I'm not saying Sarisha's kissing ass, but I'm saying these people just gel. And Sarisha says in a she looks good. I love that look of hers in the confessionals with the, I love it. Where she says, I feel like Nonko is expecting me to not take to Slee, and I'm not sure why that is. Anyway, Nonko has her family meet Skara. I hated the scene. I felt the children were being exploited for television. It's too early. I did not like it. Her mother comes over, as well as a very close friend of hers. Her kids are there, the two boys, and Notile is her daughter. The eldest of her kids is there. And Skara shows up with his daughter, and they're all sitting around and having chats, and they're asking the relevant questions. The friend's energy, she's not receiving this, and I love her. She's so apprehensive. She's asking the right questions. Skara says in his confessionals, I don't know how he earned one, but he has one. Is in the confessionals talking about how, yeah, I understand why she's asking these questions. I'd also ask that Nonko's mom is just over the moon. It explains a lot about Nonko's sense of nothing. Okay, she got it from her mom. They just move reckless. Her mom is just too... I don't understand how her mom is not very guarded. It's like she's just letting this man in and not being this guard for her kid. They've both been in abusive relationships to no fault of their own, and never will that ever be their fault. But you think that people exit these situations. I mean, I guess sometimes it makes you ripe and prone for the next perpetrator if you don't unlearn certain things. But to me, they don't vet enough. The mom is just like, oh, you're going to get me a car too. We learn in the scene that Skara has been to jail. He says this to the mom. And she's taken aback. She's like, but I'm not going to judge him. And he's being honest about it. And this is my own. I literally sat here to do this whole video so we can get to this part. There are reasons why people tell you the truth. I'm not always telling you the truth because I'm just such an honest, transparent person. I'm doing it to disarm you, and that's what's happening here. He knows it's gonna come out. He's on television, right? He knows people know him. This is something he cannot possibly get away with. So I'm gonna act like I've evolved. They ask him what he does, and then he talks about how he's a hustler. And Nonko's just there grinning. Like this is making sense to her. Girl, what? He's a hustler. He says he's in construction, that he didn't go like, the formal education route. He explains that he is the breadwinner because they lost their parents very young and he's the eldest and things like that. I don't know how they just moved past that, him going to jail and not asking for what, for how long, how did you go about changing your life. I don't understand what in the hell kind of vetting is this. Like, don't bring me around your Scara like boyfriend and talk about how I just want you guys to ask him and think I won't grill him. I'm going full on Deborah Patter on him. Okay? I'm Barbara Waltz. I'm doing everything. Do you understand? Investigator. It's CNN time. I'm sitting down. I'm having a notepad. I have questions. It says here, you're a fucking jailbird. Why were you in the jail? Because I allegedly, I've seen the allegations online, they're not on the show, that there is a statutory violation, sexual violation of sorts, but I'm not sure if that's what he allegedly went away for. This is all alleged, right? But what were you at the jail for? First of all, you were at the jail, so you gotta go. You don't even need to answer why you were at the jail. You just need to go because you were there. I don't understand. I mean, do they love her? Or are they just so excited about the car? I mean, guys, love bombing is and we've been having these chats though. If she's not being love bombed, I don't know what. That Munewa was love bombed. And nobody in her life, by the sounds of what she was telling, was saying to her, guys, there's no just giving and giving without expecting large in return. And the expectation is not in the form of I'm going to ask, I'm going to take. Because I gave. I gave and I gave and I gave. So when I want something, I will not be asking you for it. I'm going to take it. I now feel entitled to it. I don't understand. This all better be for television. The kids are there being made to feel awkward. Nonko's eldest daughter asked her before he arrived that, how long have you been seeing him? She knows she's moving mad. She can barely answer her daughter. And she's like, oh, like a little bit now. You can't even say 2 months to your kid because deep down, you know it doesn't make sense. And then when shit fucks out in the end, and then we have to say things like, what are you accounting for? All of a sudden, there's nothing for you to account for. When you deliberately looked everywhere but at the situation because you just wanted this nice shit. We're not supposed to say things like that. How does somebody sell your BMW within 2 minutes of knowing you and you never see it and you stay with them, but we can't ever say, no, but girl, wait. We can't ever say, wait. Like, we must just be like, oh, what a victim. Oh, I need to get, as you were, bye. This bitch is work for real. Like,